Casual Sunday Gamer. I am your host, Patrick.
I'm Alex.
And this week, it's been an interesting week, actually. It's been a long week. Like, when we were talking about the stuff we were going to talk about tonight, I couldn't remember if we talked about it this week or last week or.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. It's just been a crazy week for me at work, and yeah, it's just a long week, and I got another one coming.
Yeah. So, Gamescom hit this week. We're going to talk about that shortly. If you guys don't know, Gamescom is basically the European version of E3. All your big developers are there. They bring all the new fun stuff that they've had in development and give us a sneak peek. So we'll get to talk to you about some of that. But first, we're going to lead with a story that broke early in the week. In fact, I guess it was Monday. Um, I sent you a message via text and was just like, "Oh my gosh, look at this! I can't believe it!" And you were you immediately replied with, "Yeah, don't lose that. We need to talk about it."
Yeah.
So, in the
Fantastic.
news this
Go ahead.
week, Konami. So, and I know we've talked about the whole Konami Hideo Kojima story, with Konami basically kicking Kojima out,
Right.
that they were going to take Metal Gear in this other direction or whatever, and then they transferred his team to another part of the building. Well, a Japanese newspaper, and I'm gonna probably butcher this, Nikkei, Nikkei, Nikkei. Um,
Nikkei,
yeah.
they both sound right to me.
So the newspaper article had been translated to English by Kotaku. I'm actually not reading this off of Kotaku's website. This is from Bleeding Cool, but it's all over the web.
Gonna
It
say, I think
says,
when you sent it to me, it was from Giant Bomb.
okay, yeah, like I said, it's been all over this week. Um, Says that one of the main reasons for the split between Kojima and Konami was because of Dragon Collection, which is a cheaply made mobile game that exploded and became very profitable. The issues are that Konami's working conditions apparently are very despicable and, I'm trying to think of the right word, oppressive.
Yeah, that's to me, that's the word that comes to mind. It's just oppressive. Like, I can't imagine anyone wanting to work for this company.
Yeah, so allegedly the culture at the corporation's video game division, famous for its, big console games, is that if you are not working every second, then there will be repercussions. And they have security cameras at every desk, so they can pay close attention to progress. Um, they have people looking over your shoulder all the time, and if they feel you're not doing what they expect you to do, they'll bust you down. It doesn't matter if you're a senior developer. They could bust you down to maintenance, sweeping floors, cleaning toilets,
Yep.
even down to their manufacturing lines.
Yep. And it's they were talking about having to punch in and out with time cards at break, and that if you were late coming back from break, you were publicly named and shamed.
Yes, and most Konami employees do not even have their own company email address. Staff who have to deal with people outside the company, such as sales and PR, do. However, everyone else routinely has their email addresses randomized and changed every few months. So, I mean, they don't want them being able to interact with people outside the company. And if somebody outside the company gets their email address, then it gets changed almost immediately.
Yeah, and that's they're affecting like their ability to talk outside of work as well. They could actually get busted down at work for something that they say in private. Like they have access to all of that communication as well, from what the article said.
Yeah, and that's just fixing to mention on that. They mentioned that one former employee who announced on Facebook that they were leaving Konami and had gotten a new job elsewhere apparently had their post monitored by higher ups at Konami. And the Japanese newspaper said that any remaining Konami staff who liked his post were reshuffled within the company to other positions.
Yep, they were busted down just for liking him being happy about finding another job.
Right, and that right there immediately should tell you what it's like to be there. I mean, this is just I could not imagine working for a company like this. And they go out of their way to censor people and to censor articles like this. So for this to get out is huge because Konami's usually on top of these things as far as killing these types of stories.
And that, I mean, Castlevania is one of my favorite titles. It's right up there with Metroid, and this bugs me. This really, like, it makes me sick at my stomach. I don't like that. Like, I feel dirty for having liked their games, and I don't like it when a company makes me feel like that.
Well, and that seems to be the general census from what I've been seeing from users on the web this week. A lot of people have that kind of same sentiment. They're like, this is wrong, and they're like, for instance, one guy says, I love Metal Gear Solid. It's my favorite franchise, and I want to do my part to support the developers, but I don't want to support Konami. How do I do this?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with him. Yeah, I mean, what do you do? I mean, when Castlevania was relaunched, I guess what was in 2009? Was it 2010 maybe? Oh, I was so excited. I got the soundtrack for it. I still actually have that soundtrack on my iTunes. I listen to it at work sometimes. A lot of times when I'm writing, it's either that or the Cataclysm, World of Warcraft Cataclysm soundtrack that I have on my head, playing through my headset. I mean, it's just, I love it. And to read this article, I don't know. It was almost, I don't know any of the developers there. I have no personal connection to this company, but like I felt really bad for them, and I felt betrayed almost.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you want to when you have a franchise you love, you want to be able to support them, and you want to be able to support the people behind the scenes who bring this to you. I mean, that's their job, is to bring you entertainment. But when you find out that it's at this kind of an expense, it's just terrible. I don't know that there's any other way to say it. But anytime you treat your employees like prisoners, there's just nothing good can come out of that.
I completely agree. Completely agree.
All right, so
moving on.
Gamescom, big
Gamescom.
week in the video game industry.
Yeah, especially I feel like, especially if you're a Star Wars fan, and especially if you're a Blizzard fan.
Yeah, it was. I tell you what, there were a lot of games announced this week, and one of them, speaking of Blizzard, I know we've talked in the past about Overwatch, which is getting ready to come out. Getting ready to go into beta soon. They've said before the end of 2015. There's a game that I think we've talked about maybe once or twice. It's called Battleborn. I don't know if you're familiar.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it before, but I'm still not super familiar with the game.
Yeah, so Battleborn is a first-person action shooter sort of like Overwatch. There's 25 different playable characters to choose from. It's from the same developers who did. Oh, dang it. Hang on. I'm pulling up the article now because I apparently can't remember. It's from the same developers who did Borderlands.
Yeah. Which, by the way, the cell shading in Borderlands was just something ridiculous.
And that is being transferred over into this type of game. It's a team-based first-person shooter developed by the minds behind the Borderlands series. Starts with a cast of 25 heroes. So I mean, it's in that same vein. It's an action strike game. It looks really beautiful, and it made some pretty good impressions apparently from the people who got to get their hands on it at Gamescom this week. So
we've been excited about it ever since BlizzCon last year when the trailer released.
Yeah. Now Overwatch, we've been really excited about. Not gotten to see a whole lot of it other than just the few gameplay trailers that they have put out so far and the characters they've announced. But I'm really looking forward to that game. And I'm not a big arena shooter fan. I played Quake.
Yep.
And I wasn't a big fan of Quake. Most recently, I played Toxic with our friend Night Frenzy, and that game is pretty good. But they were still working on it. It was still really in development when I played it, so there was only like one map available at the time. I need to go back and check it out again. I believe you've actually got a copy of it too.
I do. I just recently got my internet situation worked out, so I need to install it on my new computer and get in there and really play. I was excited about Toxic, and we've talked about that on the show before, about both of us being excited.
Yeah, we need to give that another good look now and see if they've updated anymore. But arena shooters are making a comeback, it seems.
Yep.
Starting with Toxic, moving on to Battleborn and Overwatch. So we'll have to see how this genre does going forward. But yeah, it really looks like a lot of fun. The other big news this week out of Gamescom was, just like E3, they give their best of awards, and there's one pretty clear winner when you look down at the list of 15 categories and one name keeps getting repeated multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a game we're both pretty excited about, and it's Star Wars Battlefront from Electronic Arts.
Oh yeah. And in fact, we saw a commercial earlier. We've been watching the August Road to BlizzCon Heroes of the Storm tournament today, and the Battlefront commercial came on where they were showing the air combat, and it just looks amazing. It just continues to impress.
Yeah, so that actually leads into the other part I was going to talk about. So they actually revealed 2 new game modes for Star Wars Battlefront at Gamescom. One is the one you just talked about. It's called Fighter Squadron mode. Mm-hmm. And in that mode, it's an aerial vehicle only multiplayer mode. So I don't know if you guys ever played Hawks, Tom Clancy's Hawks.
Oh yeah.
But it was kind of reminiscent of that because it's aerial only. There's no ground troops. It's X-wings versus TIE fighter combat. There was also playable A-wings, TIE fighters, the Millennium Falcon, and Slave One. And the premise of Fighter Squadron in the gameplay trailer they shows the Alliance hunting down an escaping Imperial transport shuttle while the Empire team has to protect it. Each ship gets its own abilities. The A-wing has homing missiles, different roles for X-wings. It looks really, really good. And the gameplay trailer, like you said, blew us away when we saw it earlier today.
Yeah, I think if you were on the fence about buying Battlefront, once you see this trailer, you won't be.
Yeah. The other mode that they introduced this week is called Blast Mode. And what this is, it's a multiplayer deathmatch, close quarters deathmatch on large-scale battlefields. It pits 10v10, Imperial versus Rebels, and it's the first team to 100 kills, or whichever team leads at the end of the 10-minute round wins. So, and it's primarily a on the ground mode, so there won't. Now, it did look like there were speeders and ATATs or ATSTs available in this mode.
I haven't seen the preview for that mode yet. Were they 2-leg or 4-leg?
They were 4 legs, so those are ATATs.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, so the demo is on Hoth, and
Nice.
so you've got the speeders there. I forget what they actually call those ships.
It's just snow
speeders. Yeah, so you've got those available. So there are vehicles on the battlefield, but they're ground vehicles. So it really, really is impressive, and I'm really looking forward to what all this game has to offer. With that said, let's talk about the awards for Gamescom.
Okay.
Best of Gamescom. Best game overall seen all week. Star Wars Battlefront, Electronic Arts.
No surprises.
Most Wanted Consumer Award, Star Wars Battlefront, Electronic Arts.
No surprises.
Best Console Game, Sony PlayStation, Star Wars Battlefront, Electronic Arts.
I'm seeing a theme.
Best Console Game, Microsoft Xbox, Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, Konami.
That doesn't surprise me, but I am pretty surprised that it didn't go with Star Wars.
Best Console Game, Nintendo Wii, Super Mario Maker by Nintendo.
That doesn't surprise me at all either. That is, I mean, seriously, if you're a fan of Nintendo, and in this modern Minecraft world of create your own sandbox, Grand Theft Auto, you get to make your own rules, you get to make your own game type of environment. That type of game is pretty popular, and you combine that with Mario, and I think you've got an instant classic.
Yeah, I agree. Best role-playing game, Dark Souls 3 by Bandai.
Once again, it doesn't really surprise me. I will say that I'm surprised that Dark Souls made it past the first game. That was a stinking hard game.
Yeah, and they don't get any easier.
No, and I guess there's the environment and the setting for the game and the story. I get it. I get the appeal. I'm surprised there are still people out there that want games that are that difficult.
Yeah. All right. Best racing game, Forza Motorsport 6, Microsoft.
Yeah, I'm a Gran Turismo fan, so yeah, I guess I'm a little partial. The Forza series is a good series. It's not my favorite.
Gotcha. I'm not a big racing fan myself. Best action game, Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, Konami.
Yeah, Metal Gear has its fans, and Metal Gear isn't one of those games where you're middle of the road or lukewarm. Any part of it, it is you like Metal Gear or you don't like Metal Gear.
Yeah. All right. Best simulation game, Forza Motorsport 6, Microsoft.
Yeah, and that doesn't surprise me either. I think these car titles, they've got it dialed in on this generation, and really they kind of figured it out at the end of the last generation of systems with Xbox 360 and PS3. The controls were intuitive, they were responsive. The thing about simulations is they strive for realism, and the problem you have with them is getting the controls to match the level of realism that you're looking for. And I think Forza and Gran Turismo both do a really good job of that.
Yeah. Best sports game, PES 2016 by Konami.
And PES is Pro Evolution Soccer.
Yep.
And if you're a soccer fan, that's great. Sports games are sports games, and chances are pretty high that you have to be a fan of the sport to be a fan of the game. So if you're a soccer fan and you like video games, seems to be a good game for you.
Yeah. All right. Best family game, Lego Dimensions by Warner Brothers Interactive.
I'm really excited for this game, and I'm glad to see that it got a little bit of buzz um, at Gamescom. I think this is going to be, if not the best Lego game they've made, one of the best.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of a lot of the Lego games myself, so I'm interested in seeing this as well. Best strategy game, Unravel by Electronic Arts.
And honestly, I don't know anything about this game. I didn't even know it was out there, so I'm intrigued. And that's something I always like to see from these, these gaming events. I'd like to see those games that pop up out of nowhere that aren't really on my radar.
Yeah,
Get to check out something new.
right. Best PC game, Star Wars Battlefront, Electronic Arts.
Yeah, I think if you've got a gaming PC and you can push the graphics on this thing, I think you're going to be rewarded for getting to play this game in high res graphics. I just Star Wars Battlefront is a monster, and I'm loving the fact that it is what it is.
Me too, me too. Best new mobile game, including handheld, iOS, Android, and Windows. Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes by Nintendo.
Once again, haven't really seen much on this title. Legend of Zelda is always a powerhouse when a Legend of Zelda title comes out. It's got its followers, and they've been doing a lot of great work on the 3DS, and it doesn't surprise me that I guess a strong Legend of Zelda title is making an appearance in this technology cycle.
Yeah. Best social casual online game, Super Mario Maker by Nintendo.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone's going to dethrone that anytime soon.
Best online multiplayer game, Star Wars Battlefront, Electronic Arts.
Okay, so I guess I do kind of have a problem with this because it's not out yet. You don't know how the multiplayer is going to be on this game. Yeah, you've internally tested it, and that's great for single player modes. I don't know that you can. I don't know.
Hard
I
to
just
guarantee it's going to have a multiplayer draw before the
like
game's even out there.
because I mean you used the Hawks as an example early on with the aerial combat. Hawks had an amazing competitive online play. Amazing, probably one of the best. Had one of the best environments, one of the best setups to be a truly awesome online multiplayer experience, and it just never took off.
Yeah,
And
I really enjoyed the. I thought they did aerial combat well in that game, and I'm hoping that it translates over to this one as well.
yeah, and so I mean that's what I'm saying is I just don't know that you can say best multiplayer when it hasn't really been tested in the open environment yet.
Yeah. All right, so this is an interesting category and an interesting winner that I'm not familiar with. Best new hardware, including peripherals, the HTC Vive by HTC.
Yeah, I'm don't know anything about that piece of machinery. It's HTC, so I know it's going to be Droid based, and you know how I feel about Droid.
All right. Best indie game, Cuphead by Studio MDHR.
Once again, don't know anything about this game prior to Gamescom, but it's got me interested. I'm going to be at least checking it out, reading about it.
Now, I am actually a little bit familiar with Cuphead. I do work with an indie game developer, and this is a run and gun platformer. It's a side scrolling platformer, and it's hand drawn in the style of the 1930s cartoons. So you play a character named Cuphead, who is what he sounds like, a guy with a cup for a head, and it looks like those old like Mickey Mouse style cartoons because it's all hand drawn in that art style, and it looks fabulous.
So you're talking like Steamboat Willie?
Yes, yeah, it's all hand drawn in that art style, and it looks incredible.
That's cool.
So yeah, I would recommend if you are unfamiliar with it, just if you got a little time, look it up. I think you'll be impressed with what you see.
Yeah, maybe try it out.
Yeah, it's available for Xbox One and Microsoft Windows.
Oh, then never mind.
So, all right. That covers all the awards that were given at Gamescom. So there's you a good list of games if you are looking for something new to play or you are looking for something for a gift for
Yep,
a gamer.
before Christmas.
Yeah, Star Wars Battlefront comes out in November.
Yep. So Star Wars Battlefront's going to be more of a Christmas, I think.
It,
Yeah,
it'll probably make my Christmas list that we do every year.
yeah. So, but some of the other games are going to be available before Christmas.
Lego
So
Dimensions.
yeah.
I don't know a release date on that.
I don't know if they've got a firm release date for it yet, but I've been seeing it advertised everywhere, and so I think it's probably going to be sooner rather than later. I tell you though,
September 27th.
September 27th. Um, that's cool. That's right in that little mix. Um, you could. It's late enough in the season you could possibly get it for a Christmas present, but chances are they're probably going to want it before then. It's going to be hard to keep it secret that they're getting that.
Right, right.
Well, I think one of the most surprising things I found out about, or I saw at Gamescom, was just the amount of information that Blizzard released.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, they talked a lot about Heroes of the Storm. They talked about a lot about Overwatch. They had a pretty, I felt like a pretty good in-depth view of the new expansion for World of Warcraft and for Hearthstone. You know, pretty much all their big popular money makers right now. They talked about what was coming out for the future of them. Um, I felt like very openly and freely for Blizzard and it not being BlizzCon. BlizzCon comes up in November, and I would have imagined some of this stuff, some of it being big reveals there at BlizzCon. So to get the skinny on the new WoW expansion and um, the Overwatch that we got to see, and they talked a little bit about StarCraft, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
I didn't get to
the new
watch that.
the new StarCraft expansion comes out here real soon.
Yeah. So Heroes of the Storm, they're getting their heroes, of course, before BlizzCon, the ones they talked about, and the Hearthstone expansion we could see as early as Tuesday, from what I'm hearing. So
Yeah, that would be interesting. They've said it will be in August. They've not given a firm release date yet, but they've got a big maintenance window scheduled for this coming week, so we'll just have to wait and see.
so yeah, super interested in all that, and I think as far as it not being BlizzCon, I think to see Blizzard put that much time and energy into promoting their product, it tells me one of two things. Either A, most of the stuff they talked about is going to happen before November and before BlizzCon anyway, or B, that they feel like they needed to reignite or excite the public about what they've got coming up and what they've got out right now.
Yeah, and I'm thinking it's probably a little more towards the latter of those two things. But I'm, you know, the last few years, you and I have gotten together and got the BlizzCon virtual ticket. We've always hung out and watched the news as they deliver it. So I am really looking forward to this year's BlizzCon to see what maybe they have still up their sleeve that they haven't thrown out there yet. So.
Right, and for me, I think Hearthstone and I think Heroes of the Storm. I think they're both very healthy right now. I think they have fairly large player bases, um, and I think their competitive esports scene is thriving, but I don't know how much money they're making. So, I mean, you can have a thriving environment and a thriving community, but in a free-to-play game, if you're not making money on the microtransactions, then it's not going to stay free-to-play for long because it's not going to be around.
Well, you don't have to worry about that. Blizzard announced they had their financial call last week or a week before, and just Hearthstone alone, and combined with Activision's Destiny, those were the two biggest earners for each company. Just those two titles alone brought in $1.25 billion last quarter.
Good, good. And Hearthstone's been out for a while now, and I think they've got a lot of excitement generated with the new expansion pack coming up. We just had Blackrock Mountain. That was a $40, $30. It was 40, wasn't it? Wasn't it 39?
Yes.
$40 adventure.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that helped a lot. As far as the quarter went, because that happened at the start of the quarter, so people have been buying it for the entire quarter, and that really helps to promote a quarter with that kind of launch. And it looks like they're getting ready to do the same with Argent Tournament.
Yeah, I expect they have been pre-selling packs for the new expansion, the Argent Tournament, and they've got actually if you think about it, it's really a pretty good deal. You get 50 packs for $50. So it's a dollar a pack, which is the cheapest they've ever offered booster packs. And I know personally a lot of people have been buying these.
Oh yeah, and you get a card back as with it as well. You get 50 packs plus a card back, and I'm seeing that card back all over the place.
Yeah, yeah. So, I would be interested to try to find out how much they are actually out there, how much they've made off of these pre-sales. I don't know if we'll ever find out, but I think it would be interesting to see.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think WoW they're in a little bit of a free fall. I don't think they've delivered on pushing out content fast enough, and so I hate to say it because we played WoW for so long, and even though I don't think either one of us is going back to it anytime soon, you still don't want to see it fail the way that it looks like it's getting ready to. And in today's world where you've got all this online multiplayer, you've got all these other thriving esports scenes, WoW is just kind of falling by the wayside a little bit. And if you can't generate that PvE content, you're not going to keep WoW people.
Well, I know a lot of people are excited for this expansion. Me personally, I wasn't too blown away by the presentation they did at Gamescom. I thought it was just kind of lackluster. For me, the most exciting thing they introduced was the new modding of artifact weapons. But and I've been seeing similar thoughts to mine on the web, and they introduced modding of artifact weapons. That's something people had asked for in the past. They introduced the Emerald Dream, the Emerald Nightmare. That's something people had asked for in the past. They are reintroducing a lot of the old characters, Illidan and some of the other bosses that we had seen. That was something the fans had asked for in the past. And I've actually seen this expansion being called World of Warcraft. Holy crap! Let's give the fans what they want so we can get more subscribers edition.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of at that point, and we predicted the Emerald Dream being the final expansion of WoW, and that being the expansion that took us to level 100. Well, of course, that didn't happen. But now we do have the Emerald Dream. We have the Emerald Nightmare, and I'm interested to see where the story goes. I've always been a big fan of the WoW, the Warcraft storyline in general, but especially once WoW came around and they started writing more of the novels and it started really fleshing out some of the characters, and I feel like from a strictly content standpoint, I feel like WoW's world, that story, that narrative, I feel like it's got enough chops to be able to go the distance. They just have to figure out a way to get content out faster to the people playing it.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So I guess that will do it for us for tonight.
Yep, that's all I've got. Gamescom was exciting, but it was all about Star Wars. So
Yeah,
as far as I'm concerned,
Star Wars really stole the show, I think, and it just got me even more excited for this game coming in November. So.
yep.
All right, well, that'll do it for us for this week. As always, you can find us here on Twitch on Sunday nights at 9 Eastern. You can always find us on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ECMMOGamers, or on our Facebook page where you can interact with us directly, facebook.com/ECMMOGamers. Until next week, I'm Patrick.
I'm Alex.
Good gaming.